What's a harmless, non-serious secret you've kept forever? First marriage to my late wife. On the day of the wedding, the ring got stolen out of my car. I was freaking out. My two best men went into overdrive and took a picture I had of the ring and went to I don't know how many jewelry stores explaining what had happened and if they had a ring that was similar. They went to this really great jewelry maker said, "I have something that is really close, give me a bit and I can make it perfect." He worked his ass off and got it done with about an hour to spare, plus the managed to get my window fixed. The three of us are the only ones who know. I ended up using that jewelry maker for any jewelry I needed and well I haven't stopped yet. He ended up telling my best men to not worry about the price and for me to come down after the honeymoon to work it out. I did and he gave it to me at the cost of the materials. He is a great guy. He retired during COVID. My mum is a health nut with probably disordered eating who wouldn't let us have cheese in the house when I was kid. When I was mid-20s, I bought a unit and my dad was helping me fix stuff up so I provided lunch. I said to him, "Bet you're going to hate going back to work next week and not have any cheese on your sandwiches." It was then he told me his deepest secret. He had been buying blocks of cheese at work for years. I had no idea he was crafty. And my mum still doesn't. Poor dad has been retired for years though, so not sure on the current cheese consumption status. One day I came home late at night drunk and decided to walk my dog. Just when we arrived outside my house, my dog attacked a raccoon hanging around the area. I ended up wrestling my Malamute and freed the raccoon from his jaws. Here's the thing. I was drunk and the raccoon kinda just stared at me in front of me and I decided to try and pet the raccoon. I got maybe one pet in before it took a chunk out of my finger. I ran into the house leaving a trail of blood up to my brother's room for help. A sleepless night in the hospital and 4 consecutive rabies shots later was the result. Everyone asked me what happened and I just told them while I heroically wrestled my dog to save the raccoon I got bit in the process. They still don't know the real story. It still gets brought up 10 years later. If anyone was at the Hyatt Regency in Columbus, Ohio right before the Origins Game Fair in 2018, I have your white noise machine. You left it in the hotel room. I didn't even realize for half my stay. I was like, oh, this is actually really convenient. Figuring it was just a new thing the hotel was doing. That is, until I visited my friend's room, where they didn't have one. Then noticed I could unplug the one in my room, and realized it must have been left behind. I told the front desk about it, but they insisted it didn't need to be moved to a lost and found. Told them to tell me if anyone called looking for it, but no one did. So, thank you, forgetful stranger, it has actually helped immensely with my sleep. My dad is a doctor. When my daughter was little she was terrified of hurting her ankle. Like anytime she got the slightest twinge or rolled it slightly, she was convinced it was broken. My dad would take her to the office and run a fetal heart Doppler over her little ankle and tell her it was an X-ray machine and her ankle was fine. She's 13 and still convinced that Papa took actual X-rays of her ankle. I'm never going to tell her otherwise. I can't remember why, but I was mad at my dad for something. As revenge I added extra chili powder and hot sauce to our family chili. Turns out my family never really added enough seasoning to the chili as it was, and the food actually tasted a lot better as a result of my revenge tactic. I've overcorrected as an adult on seasoning food at times, but I do make a mean chili. Several years ago I was in a new relationship. In my grogginess in the morning while still in bed, I forgot my boyfriend had slept over the night before and I just let one rip super loud. Instantly, he is awake. The bed creaks and I remember he is there and I'm somewhat mortified until he nearly immediately tells my dog, also in the bed, that he will take him outside to poo as I pretend to still be asleep. He takes him outside and later when I am awake, he tells me about my dog's crazy fart. I let my pup take the fall. Every Thanksgiving in San Luis Obispo my best friend and I are in charge of pies. We go to the Madonna Inn, a gloriously outlandish hotel, restaurant, bakery, resort, and ask for 2 of their pie boxes. We then go to Safeway and buy 2 much cheaper pies and put them in the boxes. We bring them to our large family gathering and everyone compliments the wonderful pies because of how amazing the Madonna Inn's reputation is for baked desserts. I'd like to say this is because of concerns about cost or because the Safeway pies are better, but the truth is my BF and I have been doing this for about a decade now and it's just become one of our favorite traditions together. When I had just got my license, I was kind of an idiot, as are most 16-year-old boys. It was snowing and I thought I would try to drift my car into a McDonald's parking lot from the road. I failed, obviously, and went down an embankment into another parking lot. Thankfully my car was mostly okay. I had to replace a quarter panel and a headlight, but nothing too serious. I told my parents I was avoiding a head-on collision and hit black ice. I have never told them the truth even though it has been 20 years since that incident. I could tell them and they wouldn't care really, but I just haven't and probably never will. This is the first time I have ever told anyone the truth about that day. I once told a girl I was dating I loved the dish she cooked for me. In reality, it was terrible. 25 years later, my wife is still cooking it at least once a month because it's my favorite. I've never been able to tell her, but now I've let my 8-year-old daughter in on it. She'll prance up to my wife and say, "Let's cook Daddy's favorite tonight." Then she turns around and looks me dead in the eye with a shit-eating grin on her face. When I first met my wife's 93-year-old grandma about 13 years ago, she had me try her holiday dish, congealed salad. It's basically lime jello made with condensed milk, and it has pineapple, walnuts, marshmallows and celery mixed in, and it is poured into a bundt cake pan to set. It's a terrible, old-timey southern dish. She was so excited to let me try it that I panicked and said it was amazing. She absolutely lit up, and every year since then, she has exponentially increased the amount she makes because she knows how much I love it. The bundt cake pan has long since been replaced with a literal punch bowl. The rest of the family knows I hate it, and it's just silently accepted that I will eat huge amounts of it each year instead of telling her the truth. My best friend in high school worked hard after school and on weekends in a butcher shop to earn money. He had healthy savings balance and really wanted an Xbox so he could play Halo, but his parents wouldn't let him buy one even though he'd earned more than enough on his own. I knew HTML, so I made a fake website for Australian gaming magazine advertising a competition to win an Xbox. He entered the competition and won it. We faked the email telling him he'd won. We bought an Xbox from the local store and went straight to the local post office and faked the sender's address on the label. 2 days later, it turned up at his home. He showed his parents the website, the email and the postage and they believed him. We spent the rest of the summer hanging out playing Halo. So good. Man, my secret story is not as heartwarming as the others on here. But I feel like writing it out anyhow. My little sister loved dragons and collected little inexpensive statues and toys. I was 15 years old and had my first job working at Friendly's. I saved up my money to buy her something way out of my price range for her birthday. It was this tiny statue, over $100. A fortune for a teen because it was adorable and perfect, a dragon just coming out of an egg. I was so excited to give it to her. My mom, who honestly has a novel's worth of issues, had no money and hadn't planned. 2 nights before my little sister's birthday she told me she hasn't gotten her anything at all, so I gave it to my mom to give to her. It made me sad not to have much of a present for my sister. I gave her a card and some candy, but I knew her heart would break if mom gave her nothing. 30 years later and I still haven't told. My daughter lost her favorite stuffed animal and was devastated. I went online and found a replacement on eBay for an insane price because it turns out her stuffed puppy was a collector's edition FML and the one I found was in mint condition. I then rubbed it in dirt, washed it a few times, and ripped off its leather on its nose and filled it in with black permanent marker. Also it matched the one she had. We then told her that her puppy had been found and the joy on her face made the expense and time it took crafting it well worth it. She is 13 now and still keeps her puppy on her bed. I plan to take this to my grave. I always knew my first boyfriend is gay, and still I agreed to be his GF at the time. He never told me that during the time we were together, and I've never initiated the conversation. We're from very conservative countries so I understand he was just super scared to come out, or even acknowledge he's gay. We have never done anything sexual, but we could spend a lot of time together as friends and it was awesome. We were 14 to 15 at the time. He came out to me a few years later and I never said anything. Many people tried to make me a victim on the way, but I'll protect this guy to the day I die. We love each other. He's my family even though we don't talk as much anymore. I live in another country. Totally pure and awesome man. I'll always support him. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the best Reddit stories.